global pandemic? Yes. It presents its own challenges. What are ways that right now we can address issues that may impact 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road? So not only do our members and our young people have a little bit brighter future, but that we can impact future generations down the road. Next slide, please. Next slide. And so we actually developed certain goals and strategies that we want to address. One of those was, of course, building stronger partnerships. We wanted to silo bust. We get so comfortable sitting in just the areas that we know and that we prefer that it makes it difficult to build bridges. We have an established a new role within Jack Jackson, who's able to assist us with that, who can assist us with intergovernmental partnerships. Having a direct access to the White House. Imagine this particular body having that support, that we're working with the President's office as we speak, working with BIA, working with Commerce, working with all the groups who actively engage with our communities to make sure that they understand the needs of our workers, so we can make sure that they have access to those jobs. When we're talking about Biden's infrastructure bill, making sure that our members aren't left out, that they actually have the ability to be competitive for those jobs and those positions. Not that they're given to them, not that they're just handed to them, but that they actually have the ability to be successful in those roles, not just for now, but long-term career advancement in the future. And of course, another important to us more than anything, it's like gold is data collection. How do we better collect data? How do we store it? How do we make it better, easily accessible for our members? Not just so that executive leaders have it, but that at any point in time, you have the ability to go in and see where we're at real time. Whether or not it's in regards to unemployment, whether or not it's how we're seeing different, we can break it up by different regions in the country. Those are things that we're all seeking to have access to. Next slide. In creating a structure, a stable structure. Now more than ever, we're coming out of a global pandemic, but also what are we also coming out of? Finally coming out of a place of racial equity and justice. We're not insulated from that. We also understand that for us to find equality as a whole, we have to be truthful. Truthful as far as what the challenges are within the Native community. Also truthful in regards to our histories. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a moment. Next step, please. And then overall, like I mentioned before, increase in communications. Not only within our council's level, but also within each one of you. Making sure that you have access to understanding and knowing where this particular council is working in. What we're seeking to address. What new opportunities have we been able to present to the Department of Labor. So we'll show how we're going to do that in a moment. Next slide, please. So most recently, I know this is taking some time, and I don't know if you've ever worked with councils before, but it can be challenging. You have many different people with different varying levels of expertise. You would think we would all agree, wouldn't you? But that really isn't oftentimes the case. That's important for us to developing the best plan that we can. And so we actually just formalized our own strategic plan, and focused it around 3 primary pillars. The first pillar is in regards to infrastructure development, making sure that we have a strong foundation to make sure that we have something to build upon long term. And we will do that. We know that too. The announcement was made yesterday in regards to our division chief, Dana Brown, will be retiring at the end of the year. As she should. How much has she given to all of us? She should enjoy those opportunities. But now to make sure that we bring in somebody, not just with the credentials. There's so many qualified people out there who would be suitable for the role, but somebody who fits the needs of this particular body. Somebody who understands Indian country. Somebody who already has built legitimacy and trust in order to make sure that we not only continue the next few years, but that we're thinking long term. I think this strategic plan also holds this council accountable. It makes sure that each of you has an opportunity to go in and look at it, and see how we're working to address certain challenges that we're facing. Next tab, please. The other is training and technical assistance. As I mentioned numerous times, it's very easy to talk about the successes. It's difficult when we have to look at ourselves and look inward and see about what are the obstacles and challenges that continue to present themselves for us, including seeing our members leave us and continuing to see numbers drop. Those are questions that those are issues that we need to address. They're not easy, but I think that the answer is really in this room. There are so many people in this room who can offer those highlights of what we can do to best prepare. Next tab, please. And then, as I mentioned before, increase the visibility, making sure that not only do you all know where we're headed, but that we also have buy-in from tribal leaders. Last week, we actually met to coincide with the National Congress of American Indians annual conference in Sacramento. This was done on purpose because we wanted to invite some of the tribal leaders out to our meetings, and that we could actually attend some of the meetings that were happening at the Safe Center in Sacramento. And we actually delivered a presentation about building a workforce of tomorrow that's inclusive of Native peoples, which was well attended. These were conversations that were very much, had a great deal of importance with those tribal leaders. And we can continue to build this. No tribal leader should ever say, I don't know what Department of Labor does. I don't know what the Native American Employment and Training Council does. And if they do, we should do everything in our power to make sure that we help educate them. Because they are our best supporters, they are our best advocates. They also provide legitimacy in why we should continue the work that we do. Next slide, please. Within this particular council, we have established 4 different work groups. These are subgroups within our council. And so these work groups include the effective management team, which is a makeup of every single council member. Every single council member could join this particular work group. And these address major issues and conversations that are happening at the council level. The council only meets twice a year. It could meet as much as 3 times a year, but right now we meet twice a year. Previously, we've met once in D.C. and then one to coincide with the National Congress of American Indians. You all may be asking, well, why in D.C.? Well, D.C. is where everything is happening. It's also where the Department of Labor is. It also gives us an opportunity where we can go and visit congressional leaders and folks on the Hill, making sure that they are aware of the challenges that we continue to see on the ground. Also, another work group is census. You know, recently I visited with the director of the census. His name is Robert Santos. And for him, it was almost like eye-opening to hear about the challenges that we see in Indian country. He's the director of the U.S. Census. And then they wonder why our numbers are so low. Why are we not actively engaged in ACS? How have we not gotten buy-in? And those are issues that we can help address on our level, while also talking about some of the data collection points that they can help us achieve, including how many people are homeowners, annual median income, how many people actually are wage earners, things like that. Another is performance and reporting. This, of course, should we be looking at what we were doing just 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Sure, if it works. But what if we are continuously seeing challenges? What if new data needs to be presented? This is a way that we can help overcome some of those barriers. And then, of course, lastly, something that's important, that's near and dear to all of us, is the youth. Is making sure that our young people have advantages that we did and that our grandparents did. When we talk about history, that we're also looking ahead at the future. Making sure that our young people are prepared for modern technology. That they're prepared for competitive job market. That they can see themselves not only as the food server, which is nothing wrong within food service, but that they can see themselves as the manager, as the division or the region manager, as being the business owner, which I believe we're going to hear about here a little bit after me, which I'm very much interested in hearing. And so we have that opportunity in regards to also overcoming gaps in educational achievement too. When I think about educational achievement, I don't think necessarily about you just getting a nice paper and framing it and putting it in your office. But there's varying levels of education that we can also work to address, including pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeships, or just making sure that we are all literate, that we can read, that we can write, that we can take dictation, that there are so many other jobs that can be presented to us if we have that skill set. Next slide, please. So some challenges. We can't talk about what we want to overcome without not talking about some of the challenges that continue to present themselves. One of those not listed up here is continuous cycles of poverty. We show tremendous cycles of poverty across Indian country. When I talk about cycles of poverty,